What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing us a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys. In today's episode, we have a ton of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. Our first story of the day, guys, is going to be about Shroud, another massive Twitch streamer who ended up leaving Twitch for Mixer, kind of following in the same suit as Ninja did earlier, obviously, but I know this is all kind of distant memory at this point because it feels like it was actually a while ago when Shroud and Ninja actually left the platform, Twitch, to go to Mixer. But I wanted to talk about, what happened to Shroud exactly? What was his reasoning? Why would he have left Twitch for Mixer, a much smaller platform? And was this all based around money or was it based on something else? So let's talk about it. So guys, in an article that was written by Distractify and was written by Ana Quintana. And now this was written a number of months ago, guys, obviously very shortly after he actually left Twitch for Mixer. This was written, but I thought this was still a very interesting article to kind of go over. Then I'll give you guys my thoughts and we can have a real conversation about it. So why did Shroud really leave Twitch and kind of like what happened there? Why is it that Shroud left this massive platform, the biggest one when it came to streaming, and leaving it for a smaller, up-and-coming streaming service, as you might say? Back in August, when Ninja announced his departure from the Amazon-owned platform, Shroud hinted he would take advantage of less competition on Twitch. Hey man, Ninja's gone, he said at the time. It's all me, baby. Gotta take advantage, which I still think to this day that he could have really taken advantage of that. But, however, that has obviously changed and Mike is making moves. While Mike did not give an exact reason for his departure from Twitch, fans on Reddit definitely have an idea why he made the switch. Imagine Shroud talking smack about when Ninja moved and then moving himself. Money talks, I guess, one fan commented, before another defended his decision, adding streaming is his job. He must have gotten a huge deal and saw an opportunity. Shroud is probably looking into the future with Mixer. Stop saying it's for money. Everyone has their reasons, which is very true. I will absolutely say that that definitely has to be something that you have to take into consideration. There are definitely different factors to consider when making a major career decision, and Ninja's wife and manager Jennifer made it very clear that Ninja did not join Mixer just because of money. Money was the last thing on our mind, she told Business Insider. It's like they don't even know what went on behind the scenes and how hard we tried to make that deal work, and then how amazing Microsoft was for us. Now, before we move on, money was the last thing on her mind is what Jennifer said. Now, obviously, guys, I have been on record saying that Jennifer, who of course is Ninja's wife as well as his, manager, she is the best manager in all of gaming. I mean, the deals and things of that nature that her and the rest of Ninja's team and Ninja himself have been able to work out is nothing short of remarkable. So massive props to them. Absolutely incredible. But the fact that when they say money was the last thing on our mind, I highly doubt that. I doubt it was the last thing. I think money is something that's very crucial in any person's career. So I think it was probably further up towards the top, but maybe it wasn't the number one thing. Maybe it was, the second or third thing on the list. Like, they wanted to be treated well, and Microsoft absolutely was doing that. So maybe that had a real, big thing to do with Ninja leaving. Also, that I think he was trying to set the bar similar to like LeBron leaving, the Cavs to go to the Heat or going to LA. He's kind of trying to make other players look at themselves as their own brand and that they have the power to kind of take their destiny into their own hands. And Ninja did that for content creators and streamers with moving to Mixer, and that was probably also part of the reasoning with that. Now, Shroud wasted no time leaving Twitch behind and revealed that his first live stream on Mixer would take place on Thursday, October 24th at 8 o'clock, just hours after his announcement. And we definitely know that he has support from his fellow Mixer streamer Ninja, who tweeted massive move for the platform and the streaming industry. Now, Sure, Mixer is steadily poaching big names from Twitch, but it still has a long way to go. According to The Verge, Mixer averages about 3 million hours watched a month, while Twitch logs approximately 932.1 million. Now, some fans are convinced more streamers are going to make the move to Mixer. Since Ninja didn't help Mixer catch up to Twitch, it will be interesting to see if Shroud does and if more streamers will follow. Fellow gamer Dr. Disrespect, who brings in between 10,000 to 40,000 viewers per live stream, joked recently about joining Ninja at Mixer, so he could be next. I highly doubt Dr. Disrespect is going to be leaving at any point in the future. The number would have to be crazy, Dr. Disrespect, of his requirements for leaving. I don't know what Ninja got, but it's got to be at Ninja's level or higher. I mean, it's just a bigger, stronger brand. He went on to say the offer would have to be huge to economically make sense for what we have planned. So Dr. Disrespect is basically saying, like, look, it's got to be a massive deal, okay? And Dr. Disrespect, other than, like, Jessica, obviously stating that, of course, Ninja's manager stating that, look, like, money's not on our mind. It's definitely on Dr. Disrespect's mind, and I'm pretty sure that he kind of speaks for most streamers out there. It's got to be a pretty good number in order to move from Twitch over to Mixer when you've been and you've built this incredible community on Twitch. Now, I saw a podcast with Ninja where Ninja was stating that, moving over to Mixer, there was not that many, viewers, and the platform has grown substantially since bringing in Ninja as well as Shroud, but obviously it's going to take time. They really kickstarted Mixer in a way, and I think that's what, you got to look at is Mixer hasn't been around nearly as long as Twitch. Twitch has been there, it's been there and done that, whereas Mixer is trying to kind of get a handle on what it's trying to do long term. So we just kind of have to wait and see on that, guys. But anyways, all in all, guys, I really personally think that Shroud made the move because it was a deal and an offer that he just couldn't refuse. I mean, I really feel that that's what it was. Ninja, I think part of it was obviously, the money situation, but I also think he wanted to set he wanted to set a standard, and he wanted to give every content creator and streamer out there that power to take their own, brand into their own hands, that they, have a voice. And that's what he did, and will always be in debt to Ninja for that. Shroud doing that, and then, of course, Nick A moving from YouTube over to Twitch, and then, Courage going from Twitch to YouTube. And so the streaming wars are in full effect at this point. I really think it came down to Shroud just getting a deal he couldn't refuse. I mean, I think that's what it was, because if it wasn't a really great deal, he would have stayed on Twitch, had a massive following, like a huge following, bigger following than what he has even on Mixer, and he would have stayed on Twitch and just continued. He would have been the biggest figure on Twitch. He would have replaced Ninja, but instead, Mixer got the two biggest Twitch streamers over, on Mixer. And so that's a huge deal. And now when you look at the gaming landscape and you look at Twitch, you look at Mixer, you look at YouTube, it looks like there's a possibility that all three of these definitely can coexist with one another in the same gaming universe, but also that they all might end up becoming kind of even almost as far as, viewership is concerned, especially with, Mixer picking up, some big personalities, YouTube doing the same thing, and Twitch just kind of chilling. I mean, Twitch really, I haven't seen a lot of deals made. Now, obviously, they might have been doing a lot of these deals behind closed doors, like trying to extend Tim the Tap Man, or, who knows what Nick A's contract was. Dr. Disrespect, they want to keep him there. So I think that Twitch is going to be smart not to allow, a lot more of these creators to leave and streamers to leave. And I think it kind of gave them a little bit of a wake-up call when Ninja and Shroud both left the platform. That's a big deal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, what Twitch's response is going to be moving forward, and kind of see how this all turns out as time goes. But I think that Shroud, guys, a CSGO gamer, pro gamer, and, was kind of, starting to probably kind of take a dip in his CSGO career as far as like a pro is concerned, and then moving into streaming and just becoming such an incredible player at pretty much any game that he touched. This is a guy who went from a pro gamer. And it's interesting because the biggest streamers in the world pretty much were former pro gamers and now are larger than life, celebrities in the gaming industry, that being like Ninja and Shroud, absolutely juggernauts. And, these former pro players, one was from Halo, one was from CSGO, and it's an interesting thing. So I think really, guys, at the end of the day, what happened to Shroud, it really was, he was a pro gamer who hit the pinnacle of, in the peak of his career and started to kind of decline. He left CSGO to pursue full-time streaming and even content creation, uploading on YouTube, and just absolutely exploding. And then I think that he could have made Apex even bigger than Fortnite at a period in time, because when Apex first came out, guys, you really saw Apex's numbers were above Fortnite's for a period of time, and that was when Shroud was there. But then what happened was Shroud got hurt. He got into an accident. I forget exactly the exact details of his accident, but he had to have surgery on his hand. And it was like, was it a four-wheeler accident? I can't quite remember. But either way, got into an accident, okay? And then Apex's, numbers kind of started to decline and kind of even out a little bit, and then Fortnite overtook it again. I really believe that what could have happened with Shroud, he was on pace to, Ninja. He was gaining on Ninja as far as like subscriber base on Twitch. And I mean, it was crazy. But all in all, what happened was he got that injury and he had surgery on his hand, and that period of time that he wasn't able to play, when he did come back, it just wasn't the same. And all in all, guys, it seems to me that from there, his numbers were never the same on Twitch. And then, of course, once, Mixer came into the fray, picked up Ninja, they wanted to pick up Shroud. They probably gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. And then there we are. And now these two massive streamers, the biggest streamers ever pretty much on Twitch, are now on Mixer and are trying to really build that brand. It's really interesting, guys. I would love to hear from all of you. What do you guys think about this entire situation, about what happened to Shroud, as well as just, Twitch versus YouTube versus Mixer? It's a very interesting ordeal. Let's have a real conversation about it. Our next topic, guys, is going to be about Turok, a game in which I kind of grew up with, and really a game that I absolutely loved. I've always been into dinosaurs my entire life from a young age. They've always really intrigued me. Well, this was a game, guys, that first-person shooter, fighting dinosaurs and things of that nature, was really a game that evolved over time, and we were supposed to get, sequels and additions to the franchise, but at some point or another, whatever went wrong and what happened to Turok? So we're going to try to answer that question here today. And in an article that was written by Game Grin from Ethan Butterfield, it goes as follows. To go back to the start, Turok was a first-person shooter developed by Acclaim Studios Austin. The first game in the series, Turok Dinosaur Hunter, was released in 1997 and was received with enough critical praise to create a healthy fan base towards the franchise. Riding off the first game's wave of momentum, the sequel, Turok 2 Seeds of Evil, would be released in 98. It would go on to be another huge seller for the developers at Acclaim Studios Austin, resulting in a spike in fans and a spike in demand. Things started to get bumpy for the developers during the release of Turok Rage Wars in 99. The game would still garner positive reviews, but was deemed non-canon to the rest of the established story, and gameplay was considered lackluster in comparison to the first two games. Acclaim Austin took this loss to heart with the introduction of Turok 3 Shadow of Oblivion in 2000. Upon release, Turok 3 hit the sweet spot and was loved by fans and critics alike. Some even going as far to say that it was a franchise best and that Turok had finally come into its own. This victory would be short-lived, however, with the eventual announcement of Turok Evolution. Evolution was not only the first game in the series to be released in a 2-year span, but was also the first to not be featured on Nintendo 64. It would instead find its home on the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, which, guys, this was a game, back when I played Turok, I really feel that this was a game that reminded me, it kind of was a reminder of like Doom. Something like Doom. Like I really feel like it could have taken the same path as Doom. And look at Doom now. I mean, you look at that franchise, and I know they brought it back with Doom 2016, but I feel that this is a franchise that could come back and could do really well in today's, those next-gen consoles and even on like PC. But it really reminded me of kind of Doom. It was kind of a reminder of similar concepts to Doom and even other games out there. But this was, I thought, was a good move to move it over to consoles, to multiple consoles like GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation 2. I think that was a really good move. I don't really think that that's where they went wrong. Reviews for Evolution were mixed, with common complaints directed towards a paper-thin plot and terrible enemy design. This was a blow for the franchise, having only found critical praise throughout most of its games, with the exception of Rage Wars. With this minor success, it would be another 6 years before a new Turok game would see the light of day. You can also see, guys, that Turok was a game that came out like, every other year, almost every year. It came out, there was a lot of these games that came out at a period of time, so they were obviously popular. With those 6 long years having finally passed, 2008 rolled around and it was time for a new Turok game with a brand new developer, Propaganda Games. With no titles under their belt, Turok was a must-sell for the team. Unfortunately for Propaganda, although the newest add-on was considered a success, to fans it was mediocre. A run-of-the-mill FPS that had been done before and done better. The reboot to the Turok franchise had made the mistake of incorporating all the cliches from modern shooters of the time. So, here's my thing, though. I actually loved the reboot of Turok. I thought it was so good. I was like, man, these are incredible graphics. I mean, the best graphics easily for a Turok game. I thought the story was good. I mean, there were things about it that were, not that great. But at the same time, that's how it is with any game. You're going to find flaws in any video game out there. And so it had its flaws, but I thought for what it was, I thought it was very well done. And I thought it was a great beginning to like the reboot of the Turok franchise. Although as mentioned earlier, it still was enough of a success to warrant a sequel. The sequel, however, wouldn't see the light of day and would eventually be canceled. This would be the end of the franchise for nearly a decade and brings us to where we are today. Not a lot of news has followed since then. There was an HD remastered released by Night Dive Studios recently. However, in the months that followed, news of an up-and-coming System Shock 3 had more than fizzled out a lot of the flair from the HD remaster's release. With this being the case, it seems that Turok has not been forgotten, but is in need of a brand new title to bring focus back towards the series. So I thought this was a great article, and I think it kind of sums up exactly what kind of partially what might have happened. Now, look, even though the rebooted Turok, it sold well enough, to warrant a sequel, but it was canceled, and then there was like some concepts that were leaked that looked really cool. They were actually leaked like on YouTube, and I think that, guys, Turok is a game and a franchise that really, in my opinion, deserves to coexist in gaming. It's very unique. Sure, there's games that are out there now that you can play that are, have kind of similar, feelings. Like you could be playing Horizon Zero Dawn, which got incredible reviews. And I played it myself, and I thought Horizon Zero Dawn was a fantastic game. However, robotic dinosaur-looking creatures is a lot different than actual dinosaurs. So it's not something that has been overdone. Like, there's not like a ton of dinosaur games. You could talk about Ark Evolved. You could talk about some of these other games that have different types of creatures in them. But Turok was very unique in a number of ways. I think it deserves to coexist in the gaming universe. Now, I would love to see a sequel. Let's try to make that thing happen, guys. Let me know what you guys think, though. Would you want to see a Turok sequel to the reboot that happened in 2008? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let's have a real conversation about it. Our next topic of the day is going to be talking about GTFO, a game that we haven't talked about on the YouTube channel up to this point, but it's been a game, guys, that I've wanted to talk about on the YouTube channel because I've been very intrigued ever since starting to play this game, and really, I've really enjoyed it, and it's absolutely something, it's different, it feels different. It has those feelings like a Left 4 Dead, like a World War Z. It's got very dark elements to it. It's got some terrifying moments. It's got some really great action moments as well. Well, what I want to talk about is something that I think is really missing from this game, in my opinion, is multiplayer. Sure, a single-player story, guys, and I've said this on multiple occasions, that single-player stories are incredible. I mean, that was like my first love when it came to video games, was the campaign or the story modes in video games, and that's what I always played. I was an achievement junkie, a trophy junkie. I always wanted to get, achievements and trophies based along the campaign in different video games. Like my favorite video games, always loved playing the campaign before even diving into the multiplayer. But here's the thing, guys. In today's, in today's day and age, okay, I think that what people want more than anything is obviously, a lot of people want a good story. A lot of people want a really good multiplayer. But overall, I think a lot of people really want a full package when they buy a video game. If you're going to buy a video game, guys, and it's $60 on average, you're obviously going to want a full package deal. You're going to want a campaign. You're going to want a multiplayer. You're going to want co-op modes. You're going to even want maybe some other modes that you can play on your own. Like, for example, Call of Duty. They come out with a campaign. They come out with a multiplayer. They come out with a zombies mode, a co-op mode like Spec Ops. You have all these different modes and different ways that you can connect with that franchise. And the biggest thing, in my opinion, is doing things or having game modes that make your fan base come back or make your fans come back to play the game over and over again. And that's what multiplayer does. GTFO, though, at this point does not have a multiplayer. And I want to talk about, is there going to be a multiplayer? And we can kind of talk about this in more depth after we go through this. So on the Steam page, guys, you'll see for GTFO a general discussion for GTFO. And Soundwave went ahead and says multiplayer versus. The two things that has kept the Left 4 Dead series going for all of this time has been co-op play and versus. So far, I haven't heard any news on whether GTFO will have a versus mode, but since it appears to have special enemies in addition to normal enemies, a versus mode wouldn't seem to be out of the question. I personally would love to see not only a really good co-op mode, but a fleshed out versus mode as well. 2 teams of 4 facing off, alternating each level, playing the survivors and the special infected was probably the true highlight of the Left 4 Dead series that has yet to be implemented in any other game I've seen. I can only hope that the makers of GTFO will implement this feature. If not, then it's truly not the complete package that Left 4 Dead was and is, and I might have to keep looking elsewhere for that specific package. So see what I mean, guys? When you buy a game, you want a full package. You don't just want to have one mode, most likely. Now, the games have been very successful off of one mode. I'll give you an example. Death Stranding, God of War, Spider-Man. A lot of these games have been exclusives to the PlayStation and to Sony. Obviously, guys, I've got to say, look, this is a game that I believe deserves to have a multiplayer. And I actually, to be honest with you guys, I really feel that a GTFO multiplayer could really be something special. And I think that God of War, that should have a multiplayer. I think Death Stranding should have a multiplayer. I think that Spider-Man should have a multiplayer. To me, it's like, why not? Why not have more ways that we as fans and consumers and players can connect with that universe, and it keeps bringing us back to that game and to that title. It's like a win-win for everybody. So I don't know why more games aren't doing that. But if you scroll down a little bit on this page, you'll see Simon Vickland, who is one of the developers of GTFO. He goes on to say, if we did multiple game modes, we'd spread ourselves too thin. We dilute the potential of the game. GTFO would become a jack of all, at least too many trades, and a master of none. Keep in mind, this game is made by a 9-man team. We want to push the envelope for the co-op aspect of gaming, and so we put all of our efforts into those mechanics. As they say, limitation gives freedom. We limit ourselves to a single game mode so that we can absolutely pioneer and excel within that space. There are many other games to choose from if you want PvP or single-player campaigns, but we intend to make GTFO blow everyone's mind when it comes to co-op. So, look, co-op is great. I think it's awesome. But, like, having a single-player campaign is another thing. It's like, okay, so this is a game where all you can do is co-op, right? That's cool, but, like, why isn't there multiplayer modes? Like, I just don't... Okay, it's a 9-man team. I get it. But, and I know they're working on the next update for the game, which they're going to be adding some stuff to the co-op side of things. But it's like, why not make it so that me, just as a player, I just want to play by myself, I want to play a story mode, I can do that. Why not have multiplayer modes? It's like, you've already done kind of this co-op thing. Why don't, instead of doing updates for that co-op thing, you know, you can always come back to doing the co-op thing, right? And adding on as you go. And you can always, you know, continue getting a bigger team of people if you need to, if the game's being a success, which a lot of people are saying that it is a success. So if it's a pretty big success, they maybe should hire a little bit of a bigger team, at least a smaller team to work on the multiplayer, a team to work on, continue the co-op updates, and a team that can work on maybe a story mode. I just think a multiplayer is going to bring people back. They don't want to play the same thing over and over again in co-op. Sometimes, especially someone like myself, I like to play by myself. I don't like to necessarily always play with other people. I like to kind of go at my own pace, do my own thing, not have to talk to people. That's the thing. And I think that when Simon, he's making some good points here, saying that we would spread ourselves too thin. Well, that's because they have a pretty small team. Get a little bit of a bigger team in if it's a pretty big success. That's just my personal opinion, guys. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this, though. GTFO, guys, a great co-op game, one of the best co-op games out there that you can play right now, but it's got a big but there because there needs to be more to bring people back to the game, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. Let's have a real conversation. Another game, guys, in which I believe needs a multiplayer mode and could really use that to their advantage to continue bringing a lot of their fan base back to the game after beating the campaign is Devil May Cry and the Devil May Cry series, but in particular, Devil May Cry 5. After playing this game, guys, absolutely incredible. I mean, just an incredible game, guys. Absolutely loved it. I thought that they, it deserved, all the nominations and even some wins at the Game Awards for how well this is as an action game. However, I've always said that the package deal is something that's a big deal to me as a consumer. If I go buy a game, I want a full package, not just, I don't want to pay $60 just for a campaign. I beat it one time on, a casual difficulty, and then I play it another time on a really difficult difficulty, and then after I beat it, I'm done with it. It goes on my shelf or it goes somewhere else. No, I want to be able to continue diving into that universe over and over again, and multiplayer is what does that. It brings the players back to the game. So I think most developers out there should be making multiplayer modes for their particular games. Devil May Cry is no exception to that. And in an article that was written by Francesco De Mayo from WCCF Tech, he writes, Devil May Cry 5 may be getting some new features very soon, judging by something that has happened recently. A few hours ago, it's been discovered that some changes to the game's Steam listing have been made, adding multiplayer, PvP, and co-op to the categories. Some speculated that it could have been a mistake, but it seems like they have been done by Capcom themselves, so it's not unintentional. The addition of proper multiplayer to Devil May Cry 5 would be quite interesting, especially for the timing. Just a couple of days ago, a new mod has been released for the game, enabling multiplayer co-op for up to 3 players for the Bloody Palace mode and most of the campaign's missions. So the co-op hack adds real-time 3-player co-op similar to that of Mission 13 to Bloody Palace Stage 1 to 100 into the following missions 1 to 17. Enable before entering Bloody Palace, selecting the mission that you want to play in co-op can be left enabled without influencing other missions. Matchmaking works for the following way. Players playing the same mission on Human or Devil Hunter will be matched. The same goes for those that play on Son of Sparta and Dante Must Die. The restrictions of the original co-op for Mission 13 apply for this hack too. No co-op when you use a super costume, no co-op on Heaven or Hell and Hell and Hell. In Bloody Palace, players who are playing the same stage will be matched. So here's the thing. When I look at this and you kind of are wondering like, okay, would Devil May Cry be a good multiplayer game? I mean, guys, look, it would definitely be a good co-op game. I think it would be a fantastic co-op game. It should have been co-op from the very beginning, but a co-op is, you know, without question. But a multiplayer, after I was playing it, I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, this game could easily be a multiplayer. I mean, whether you're playing co-op with like your friends and you're going up against, you know, different creatures or taking on different, baddies, all the way to PvP, you know, and doing that. I think that there is absolutely a place for a Devil May Cry 5 multiplayer, especially because of how good the graphics are. And I think it would be smart for Capcom just to bring, like I said, a lot of that fan base back to the franchise. I think that's like the most important thing that we have to look at here is bringing it back, you know, bringing those players back to the game. As an example, God of War, which is a game that was exclusive to the PlayStation 4, I played God of War and I loved it. I thought it was a great campaign. I wasn't as high on it as a lot of other people were, but it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter was it was a great campaign. But after I was done playing it, I didn't have really any reason to come back to it. And that's the point here, is that you want to have a reason to come back to those games. A God of War multiplayer, no matter what that would look like, it's like, dude, that's going to bring me back. I'm at least going to try it out. And there's definitely going to be people who are interested in something like that, putting a ton of time into it. It's kind of like The Last of Us 2, right? The Last of Us 2, you know, a multiplayer is apparently potentially going to come out at a later time after the release. But the thing about that is that it's like, okay, so it's going to come out way out, sometime probably way after release, maybe when the PS5 comes out, and you're going to be stuck just playing the campaign. The campaign's going to be incredible. It's going to be great, I'm sure, and you probably can play that a couple of times through, but there's only so much you can do in a campaign before it gets stale, and you're kind of waiting for factions to come back. You're waiting for whatever, like just a multiplayer experience or DLC to come out. That's the thing, guys, that I think really sets the full package games apart from everything else. From all those single-player games, the multiplayer experience is what brings people back. And even co-op modes bring people back. It's important. It's really important that you have that in a game, and I really hope that they do that with Devil May Cry 5. I definitely think, why not? It's not a matter of, like, why would they do that? It's a matter of why not do it. Bring your fan base back to the game and continue building that fan base as you go. So, like I said, guys, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Would you guys like to see a Devil May Cry 5 multiplayer and some extra co-op modes? Let me know what you guys think. So will Crysis, the free-to-play game that apparently is going to come out, we've talked about this on the channel already, is that the next addition or continuation of the Crysis franchise very well might be a free-to-play game. So will Crysis, this up-and-coming game that has yet to be announced at this point, will it be coming out after Hunt Showdown, or are we going to get a Hunt Showdown 2 at this point following the success of Hunt Showdown? So let's talk about that, guys. because the company that makes Hunt Showdown as well as Crysis is Crytek. And of course, Crytek has stated in the past that they are looking at making another Crysis game, but it probably wouldn't be called Crysis 4. It would most likely be a Crysis free-to-play game. So a free-to-play Crysis that would be like a soft reboot is what I'm kind of thinking of in my mind when I think of a free-to-play, Crysis game. I'm also thinking to myself of, a Crysis Battle Royale almost. That's kind of what it was kind of coming to my mind when I'm hearing free-to-play Crysis. You look at Hunt Showdown. Hunt Showdown is kind of like a Battle Royale styled game, except, of course, you're trying to, win, but or you're trying to like kind of escape and such, but at the same time, you're also trying to take out other, of course, other players, but you're also, while you're on the map, you're trying to take out creatures and such. And so there's a lot to that I feel that they could do in a game like Crysis. And guys, Hunt Showdown, by no stretch of the imagination is that a bad game. I think that's an absolutely incredible game. I think it's great. But I think that there's something, for me at least, about Crysis that I would like to see a continuation of it, or at least just a soft reboot, maybe, kind of taking it a different direction. But even a Crysis, like a Crysis free-to-play game, like kind of like Apex Legends, how you had Apex Legends, it's within the Titanfall universe, but it's not, specifically called Titanfall. It's just Apex Legends as a battle royale. We could get something like that eventually. A Crysis Battle Royale game that might not have, might not be called Crysis, but it's in the same universe is something I think we very well might get. Now, will Crysis be the game that follows Hunt Showdown? I actually think that it is. I think it's probably going to be that for a number of reasons. The first one being that Hunt Showdown is something new for Crytek, obviously, who's been, basically been working, they worked on all the Crysis games. Obviously, Hunt Showdown is something new and fresh for them, but I think that they're always going to want to come back to Crysis. I mean, Crysis, Crytek, the Cry engine, it was all built around Crysis, right? Crytek, their company was built around Crysis. So to me, it's like you got to come back to that. You got to do like a soft reboot or just try something different. That's why I said a battle royale, but even just a free-to-play multiplayer experience for Crysis, or having, a couple of like side missions or something to see kind of, a continuation or a soft reboot of a way that they could go a different direction, a way in which we as consumers, maybe with the PS5 and the Xbox, Series X, when those come out, maybe it comes out on those consoles, and it's kind of one of those games that will, keep us in tune with what's going on, in Crysis, or kind of like keep us a part of that universe, keeps us coming back. And they also support Hunt Showdown. And then maybe, after making that Crysis free-to-play game, they come back to Hunt Showdown and maybe do a Hunt Showdown 2 at some point, potentially. But I really think, guys, that Crytek, it's always good to have multiple IPs that you can be working on. And so Hunt Showdown, they're working on that right now. Who knows? They might be working on a Crysis right now, like a free-to-play Crysis, or just a Crysis soft reboot game. I definitely think it's absolutely possible. And from what they've said in the past, that being Crytek, about the Crysis franchise, I really do think that they will continue it. Now, that being said, obviously, Crysis 3... I don't think, like, I feel that Activision had stated that Crysis 3 didn't meet expectations for how much they dumped into it, how much money that they poured into that game. It didn't do as well as they thought it would. I think personally, if I'm Crytek, I'm making a free-to-play, Crysis game that is, simple concept, but it's got like a ton of potential to it. And so that being like a battle royale, I think Crysis could be a perfect battle royale. I mean, I've been saying, that we've got a lot of battle royales, and some people think that it's oversaturated, but I really don't. I think it's just going to kind of evolve with time, and I think Crysis definitely could live and and coexist within the battle royale universe. So, battle royale, just a free-to-play multiplayer experience for Crysis, I think that's going to bring a ton of people to playing that game. I mean, really. You look at all the free-to-play games out there, there's a lot of users, a lot of people that go back to playing those games, that being like Fortnite and Apex Legends. And I mean, the list goes on. And those are like the biggest games in the world. So a Crysis, free to play multiplayer experience, campaign, whatever, could be absolutely huge. It could really bring a lot of eyeballs back to the Crysis franchise. Because a lot of people, I think Crysis is kind of like a distant memory to a lot of people, because we really haven't seen it, obviously on the Xbox One and such, or the PS4. It was back in the Xbox 360 days. So I think bringing it back would be a really smart decision for Crytek, and I do think it's going to come out following, of course, the success of Hunt Showdown. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let's have a real conversation about it, guys. Do you think Crysis is going to be coming out in the foreseeable future, or do you think they're just going to continue making Hunt Showdown games? Let me know what you guys think. Our last topic of the show is going to be about the Rainbow Six franchise, which is a franchise, guys, that I really haven't talked about on the YouTube channel up to this point, but definitely a game that I definitely want to talk about more on the YouTube channel. And in particular, guys, what we're going to be talking about here today is Rainbow Six Vegas, a game that really kind of captivated me in a number of ways, but Rainbow Six Vegas in particular. I thought Rainbow Six Vegas was so well done, absolutely loved it. And the second one, Rainbow Six Vegas 2, I didn't like quite as much as the first one, but man, this is a great sub-series in the overall of Rainbow Six. Obviously, we got Rainbow Six Siege, which is a great addition to the franchise, but I was on the Ubisoft forums, and I was kind of looking through some of the forums, and one of them was from a guy who posted that he really wanted a Rainbow Six Vegas 3, and I cannot say enough how much I would love to see a Rainbow Six Vegas 3 out of this franchise. Now, I feel like with the success of Rainbow Six Siege, they're going to continue maybe in that direction, they having a Siege 2 down the road. But man, it would be so cool to get a Vegas 3. No Warning, he's the one who posted about this, says the Las Vegas series was by far one of the most fun games in the whole of Tom Clancy's stories or series. But when games are lacking nowadays, customization, non-futuristic warfare, Vegas 2 had one of, if not the best character customization in history. It also had some of the best gunfighting mechanics. I would love to see this title revamped or remastered. I don't know if I agree with like the best character customization in history. I think it was pretty good. The gunfighting mechanics were great. I think Rainbow Six Siege did a really good job with that as well. I thought they did a really good job on kind of making a lot of those fighting mechanics, they weren't good at first, but then they've kind of just really focused and kind of got, bowed down with what they needed to do for Rainbow Six Siege and made that just absolutely incredible and did a very good job. And it's a very popular game nowadays. Now, having it revamped or remastered, I would like to see a remaster, but I just want to see a Vegas 3. Rainbow Six Vegas 3, I think would be awesome. Like, there is nothing like, I remember like playing the Hunt and playing in the library on the hardest difficulty, which I forget what it was called, what the hardest difficulty was on Rainbow Six Vegas. And I remember I would play that co-op, and man, that was so intense, so awesome. Every move mattered, and I would love to see a continuation of it. And for a number of reasons, but one of them being, guys, that Rainbow Six Siege, we didn't get a story mode. It was more just kind of like some side missions that you could play. I want a story mode. I would really like, even if they did that with Siege, if they made a Siege 2, I'd like them to make I would love to see them kind of expand upon the lore of Rainbow Six within that franchise, at least even if not with Siege, with Vegas, because I think it was the best that Rainbow Six has done up to this point. And that being said, though, the multiplayer was great with Vegas. The co-op modes were great. The story was great. Just all in all, it was a great packaged game. Rainbow Six is really good for multiplayer, but that's pretty much all it's good for. I mean, you don't really have, all these other modes and such. You basically just have the main, game itself, that being multiplayer, right? So I think that if they were to make a Siege 2 and it had like a story mode, I think what a lot of people are saying, Vegas was really cool when they did that. and I think the bright lights and the glitz, the glamour of being in Vegas and like having these insane shootouts and this great story behind it. I think they could do that with Rainbow Six Vegas 3 or a Rainbow Six Siege 2, having another, Siege game, but not focusing solely on the multiplayer. Focus on the campaign, focus on some co-op modes. I think that's what we want as a fan base. Seeing like a number of people talking about the love that they had for the Rainbow Six Vegas sub-series of the overall franchise of Rainbow Six. I think that would be really great. I mean, I really do. I think this would absolutely bring a lot of those guys back to the franchise. See, for myself, I don't play Rainbow Six Siege that much because I'm just not very good at the game. Like, it's not one of those shooters that I'm really good at. It's not like Call of Duty or something like that I'm pretty good at. It's more like it's a different type of shooter, even though obviously it's a first-person shooter. But there's a passionate fan base behind it. There's no doubt about it. But I would just like to continue that story. I would like to continue some of those co-op modes and the hunt and things of that nature. I think would be absolutely incredible having that in, like a Rainbow Six Vegas 3, which I think that there's a real possibility. There has been talks of it with Ubisoft has talked about, and the rumblings of a Rainbow Six Vegas continuation have been talked about. But really what happened was Ubisoft is actually, their primary focus is Rainbow Six Siege because of the success of it. They've just had such great success with Rainbow Six Siege. So it's like, well, if why continue something else when Siege is working and it's working really well, working better than Rainbow Six Vegas? That's what I think it really comes down to, guys, is it's really a financial thing for these companies. And I think that a Rainbow Six Vegas sequel is absolutely a possibility, but I think right now it's unlikely, and for the foreseeable future we're probably going to have Rainbow Six Siege, and I would assume we're going to get a Rainbow Six Siege 2 before a Vegas 3. That's just my personal opinion, guys, but I'd love to have you guys chime in on this. Let's talk about it. What were your favorite things about the Rainbow Six Vegas franchise, and what do you like about Siege? What would you like them to add to Siege that would maybe compare to Vegas? Or would you like them just to go completely into the direction of Rainbow Six Vegas 3 as a sequel? Or would you rather them just stay on the path that they're on right now and continue with the Siege 2, maybe just adding some, campaign as well as some more co-op modes? Let me know what you guys think. I would love to have a real conversation about it. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.